What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Scares! That's right, we're back at it on our month-long journey throughout the nightmares. Now remember, this month I'm taking a look at 31 foreign horror films that I've never seen in chronological order. Now I've already taken a look at the first two Ju-On movies, simply titled Ju-On the Curse and Ju-On the Curse 2. This is where things start to get a little bit interesting, as now we're into Grudge territory with Ju-On the Grudge. Let's get cracking. Ju-On the Grudge continues the story of the strange haunted house seen in the first two movies and how it affects literally everybody that walks through those doors. This time around, a social worker is sent to check on an elderly woman that lives there because the former social worker vanished without a trace, and what she finds there sends her head spinning. Okay, so I was probably the most curious to watch this movie out of all of the Ju-On films overall, because it was obviously the one that's considered to be the most popular by all accounts. This is the one that most people have seen. It's also the one that spawned the American remake as well, just 2 years after this, by the way, and I wanted to know why. What was it about this movie specifically? Honestly, the answer to that seems to be pretty easy. This film is cinematic. It's actually the first to have been released in a theater, so it feels a million times bigger. The cinematography's great, the frightening imagery is memorable, maybe even iconic, and they do what they need to do to recap the most important elements of the original two films. So, in kind of a big way, it can also be seen as the scariest Ju-On film so far, or at least I can imagine why it would be for others, and most importantly, it stands independently as its own thing. That way, completists can still go back and watch the other movies if they so want to, but they don't actually have to do that. All of these things create a recipe for a film that might turn into a hit, and obviously it worked. But if you're like me and you have the experience of watching all three Ju-On movies at this point, the sudden shift into big budget cinematic experience is a little bit jarring, to say the least, because one of the most intriguing aspects about the series so far has been the low budget, amateurish, and almost VHS quality look and feel about them that we've gotten. Something about that made the movies feel so much more raw and real in a way, and thus scarier, actually. Now that it is bigger, it feels a little bit more like a production at the end of the day. I also felt as if it was slightly harder to follow the story this time around, or maybe even just really care that much more about the characters like I have in the past. But that might just be because at this point, a lot of the stories and the characters start to sort of blend in together at the end of the day. So aspects of this story felt relatively unoriginal, I guess you could say. What still felt fresh, though, is the filmmakers' ability to use their creative minds to craft the frightening imagery in the movies. I'm telling you, if there was one thing that was probably utilized the best in The Grudge particularly, it would probably be the way that they shot the scariest scenes in the film. There's a vision behind it, 100%, and this may be the best example of that. Some of the scenes in this film look fantastic, but they need to be careful, because obviously too much of a good thing can easily turn into a bad thing too. Overall, if I had to pick which Ju-On film was the best, I would probably say, from a technical perspective, this film had enough elements going on for me to probably say, overall, this movie. But my favorite will probably either remain to be the first Ju-On Curse movie, or a combination of the first and the second, since they're basically the same film. And the simplicity found within those films are hard to beat. But if we're being honest, the technical improvements in this film are also kind of hard to beat. So it's a bit of a toss-up. Let's take a look at my final score for a second, which I rated Ju-On the Grudge a B letter grade. Final overall score of 76%. 76 out of 100 possible stars, which in general just kind of means that it was made well, and if you're somebody that just likes to watch the most popular films that tend to come out, then you'll probably do just fine skipping the first two movies. But, I definitely implore you to give them a shot anyway. You'll end up appreciating this a little bit more. Heck, I feel like you'll actually appreciate the American remakes as well, 2, which I remember kind of hating, but at this point, I might like them a little bit more. Because some of this background stuff introduced in these movies actually kind of makes a difference. Guys, have you seen the original Ju-on the Grudge film? If you have, please let me know what you thought about in the comment section down below. As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next installment for the Interpreting the Scares event. And until then, peace out.